So I'm going to highlight just some common maybe misconceptions or things that may be fuzzy to you about drug plans today. When Lori comes in, she'll probably give you a more formal presentations of drug plans from start to finish. But for those of you who are on now, there's two different ways to get your prescription drug coverage. One is they're built right into an Advantage plan, which is one of two ways to get coverage. And the other one is a standalone drug plan. Now, if you guys are on a Medicare supplement plans, Medicare supplement plans do not have the drug plan built in, so you have to purchase a standalone drug plan. The other time you may have that is, I was talking to a lady today. She was not familiar with Advantage plans. So just know everybody's not as lucky as you guys are to be able to be in a meeting where you learn about all of this. So she only had original Medicare and a standalone drug plan. And what she didn't realize with is original Medicare has no cap on it. So that gave me the perfect opportunity to educate her on the two different ways to get coverage. Now, this may come as a surprise. You must have a Part D plan or you get a penalty. That's right. Whether you take any medications or not, once you become Medicare eligible, you have to enroll in a Part D plan. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a standalone or if it's an Advantage plan where it's got the drug plan built right in. But if you're not on a plan, you get a penalty, but you don't have to use it. Every drug plan has rules, and these rules are the same. So once again, whether it's in an Advantage plan or a drug plan, all of these plans have a formulary. Now, the formulary is just a fancy word for the list of drugs that that plan has. And all of these formularies usually have between 3,000 and 4,000 drugs. What they are required to do is to have 2 drugs of each type. So that's the reason why there's so many different plans and so many different companies, is because there's not any one single plan that has all of the drugs that's covered by Medicare in them, okay, or that's allowed by Medicare, not covered by Medicare, but that's allowed, okay. And then there's some drugs that Medicare does not cover. Now, if Medicare doesn't cover it, then your plan's not going to cover it. And those are things like what you see on TV, like actually any drug you see on TV, they're spending so much money on marketing and trying to get that drug into everybody's household that you probably can't afford that drug. And you'll have to get either help through the pharmaceutical company, or if you're low income, and I'll go into that a little bit later on. So a formulary is just the list of drugs. Every one of these plans have something called a medication or tier exception, because whenever you enroll in a plan during open enrollment, you have no idea what your future brings. You don't know what doctors you're going to see. You don't know what medications you're going to be on. So if your plan, if your doctor puts you on a medication during the year and your plan doesn't cover it, then your doctor can ask the insurance company for a medication exception. And the same thing for tier exception. If your drug, say, is a tier 4 and it's just really out of your financial reach, then the doctor can also ask for a tier exception. This doesn't happen very often where they actually do it, but in the past, a few times it has happened. And then prior authorization, which that's something you may be familiar with, because there's just some medications that require a prior authorization from the insurance company. Once again, this is something that your doctor would have to request. And then quantity limits. Many drugs have a limited amount of quantity or limited quantity in different areas of the country. So if that is the case, then it may be difficult to get those drugs, number one. And number two, they're never going to give you but a certain amount of like narcotics or opioids at any one prescription fill. So that's quantity limits. And then preferred and standard pharmacy. This is really important and it changes often. So every pharmacy can choose if they want to accept a drug plan or an advantage plan for their medications or not. If they do accept and sign a contract, then they're considered preferred or in the network. So if you go to a preferred pharmacy, your cost is going to be less. If you go to a pharmacy that's not contracted or in their network, they're referred to as standard or out of network, and you're going to probably pay more. A good example of this is a tier 1 drug may be free at a preferred pharmacy. However, if you go to a standard pharmacy, that same tier 1 drug that's free could cost you $20 for a 30-day fill. So every year, the pharmacies decide which companies are going to contract with. And it's important that you check your plan each year to find out if the pharmacy that you want to go to is preferred or standard, because that will dictate the cost of your drugs. Now, the thing that's really interesting is all of these plans, every Medicare plan begins January the 1st and goes through December the 31st. However, these providers do not have to be on that contractual time frame. So they may contract with a company, I don't know, say maybe in April. And so you could, and then their contract is going to be up the following April. So it's important to find out if your pharmacy is preferred or standard, meaning in the network or out of the network. And the same thing goes for recently, this became an issue for TRICARE. So wherever you get your medications, make sure that you use a pharmacy that they're contracted with so you get the best price.